All right, you're all set, Paul.
All right, thank you, Larry.
No problem.
Hey, Paul,
Hey, John.
I guess I should be muting, right?
Sure.
I think there's only two things on the agenda, so
Right. You're here for the 800 North Rampart?
I sure am.
All right.
You've been doing okay? Staying safe?
Yep. Yep.
You are over 16, right? You can qualify for the shot, right?
Yeah, I've had both now.
All right. Well, congratulations. Please stay
Thank you.
safe.
I imagine we'll be back in the office pretty soon.
I can't wait. I miss not seeing you guys, and I sincerely mean that. It's been different,
Yes.
and I'm sure it has for you all too.
Oh, yes. Stephen, who are you with? To unmute.
Yeah, I'm with myself, general contractor.
Okay, are you here for the 800 Rampart also?
I'm
No,
here for the
Gibson.
Gibson.
You're here for the property disposition. Okay.
Gibson, yes.
Well, I think I'm the only one here for 800.
Okay.
You're not gonna get anybody else, and if they're here for the other one, you just have to wait till you guys show up and we're ready.
I don't know if we have I don't think we have a quorum yet. We have city planning, real estate, and parkway on the line. Oh, there's sewage and water board.
Hi, LaJoyce.
Trying to see if I can get
Hello.
Greg B from HDLC on.
You want me to shoot a message to Chris?
Yes, please. Jennifer, was it your understanding he was planning on joining?
I mean, he's usually the representative for DPW. He didn't say he couldn't be there, and maybe he sent Stephen comments. I don't know. I really would like to get his input on number one.
There he comes.
Oh, cool.
All right. Yeah, Stephen is out today, feeling the side effects of his second vaccine. So,
Well, that's what a coincidence.
so with Public Works.
The rest of us
board,
are in vaccine euphoria.
I think we then now have a quorum. We have myself from City Planning, Jennifer Kretschmann from Real Estate and Records, Chris from the Department of Public Works, Joyce from Sewage and Water Board, and Kika from Parks and Parkways. And now we have Tracy St. Julian joining from HDLC. All right, so everyone bear with me since I am chairing for the first time.
I have a good deal of faith in you, Paul.
Me too.
At least there's not a huge public following for these meetings.
But I
All
love it when you read the comments.
So we'll get started with the Planning Advisory Committee. This is a meeting made up of city agencies to give advice on both on land use matters, including City Planning Commission and non-City Planning Commission items. The order of business will be the presentation of items. We only have 2 items on the agenda. We'll include a short staff presentation followed by questions from members. And we will recess for, what have we been doing, like 2 minutes? to take public comments or organize the public comments. The comment period is open now, so people can comment through the Google form. After we read any public comment, then we'll have additional questions from members and voting, followed by adjournment. Does anyone think that I have left anything out in this preamble? Very good. Then we're going to proceed with the first item, and I'll share my screen in a moment to pull up maps and square maps. It is a request for the sale of dead-end portion of Gibson Street right-of-way in the 3rd Municipal District, which lies between squares 350 and 351 and East Parkchester Subdivision, Square 6. The adjacent lots bear the municipal addresses of 1505 Harrison Avenue and 1483 Harrison Avenue.
That's correct.
Jennifer, if you want to go ahead and say a little something, I'm going to, while I pull up my screen or share my screen.
So this is a dead-end portion of Gibson. One of the questions that came up when we were initially looking at it, and maybe I should have done a property viewer, on the rear of some of these lots, there is an access alley of sorts. And so there was a question if this truly was a dead end, but I know of no formal dedication of that alley space on the rear of the development. So I don't necessarily think that's an issue unless somebody else on the infrastructure team does. But just had no idea whether this was a possibility from an infrastructure perspective. It certainly does look like a dead end. There is not common ownership on both sides, so that was another question that we had. But considering its positioning sort of like a lot, I thought that potentially that was not an issue. But I'd be welcome to everybody's thoughts.
So I have a just initial comment that there is this lot behind 1505 owned by David Chambers that would basically make him the only eligible buyer for the Gibson Street right away, because we cannot cut them off from public access.
Okay. Wow. I don't know what even, we didn't even look at that. I thought we were looking at the alley. I didn't realize that that was a lot. Stephen, did you realize that was a lot?
No, I did not.
Hold on. Let me pull up the.
It's 11B on your, on I think Exhibit 1. Yeah, that's my question. The rest of the other stuff is an alley. We've gone through that before, and that's, you know, common access like they have on, I think on Tullis. We've got a couple of examples where they share that alley.
Okay.
For access. But I think it's 11B on Exhibit A, on your first exhibit.
Give me just a second, I'll have that pulled up on the screen.
That being said, we'd love to sell it.
Can that owner of that lot access it through that alley?
It's not a public alley.
It's a private alley.
Well, I mean, it's not a dedicated alley as far as I know. And I looked at the East Parkchester recommendations and I didn't find anything dedicating. dedicating, I mean, it functionally is an alley, but I don't, it's not a dedicated right of way that would provide an access point for 11B.
And Stephen, are you an adjacent property owner?
Yeah, I own 1483 Harrison. That 11B, that just doesn't make sense. I guess they may have put that in with the alley. Participating, but that's an odd lot. I don't know why they didn't extend lots 10, 9, 8, 7, and 6. That makes sense.
And you know, on the parcel map, I guess that is on there as Chambers David.
His mailing address is 1511. So he has what would be lot 9. But that owner shows up as Nicholas Andrew Keel. So he must be a non-owner resident of lot 9.
Okay, so from a planning perspective, it would need to be restricted to the owner of 11B. Are there infrastructure issues?
From a public works perspective, just based on the city of New Orleans, not sewage and water board, I don't see any drainage structures other than a 24-inch line along Harrison. So as long as the sale isn't, encompassing a portion of a drain line, which it doesn't appear to be, if it's just the square that I'm looking at, then public works wouldn't have an objection to that.
So you guys would reach out to 11B owner who see that and ask him what.
If this were to proceed, we would do a public notice to people in the area.
The map that you're showing now, which is it? Square 7, you said?
11B is the one that would be landlocked if it were sold to anybody else.
I see.
Yeah, on the property viewer, the lot or the square number 350 and 351 don't show up, and the two squares together show up as square 6.
Okay.
Anything from Sewage and Water Board?
No, I have no comments from Sewage and Water Board.
There's nothing under there at all that would require a servitude?
No, I didn't, there's no utilities shown on our unit maps. Sewer and water. I didn't see any drainage either in that location.
Right. Any other comments or questions before we move on to the next item?
Okay, so what's the next step with the, if everything pans out, the next step is 11B owner. Talk to him about the,
So if this were to proceed, just my initial analysis would be that the only eligible buyer would be the owner of 11B, because the subdivision regulations prohibit a landlocked lot. We have to give everybody access to a public or private street. But the purchase of the Gibson's right away would have to be sold at auction at least fair market value. So city planning would probably recommend something like a proviso that it could only be sold to someone who was able to incorporate it with lot 11B.
I mean, my suggestion, Stephen, would be to, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you want to have, if you know this gentleman and want to have him reach out to me, that's fine. But otherwise, he would just get notice. If we decided to move forward, he would get notice from the CPC meeting.
Yeah, Stephen, you may want to contact him yourself, being that he lives right there.
he's the owner of you said lot 9?
His mailing address is 1511 Harrison.
There's no name on that.
Oh, David Chambers III.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could see if he was interested in selling 11B.
Right. So if that would be the case, then moving forward, fair market value, I guess, on Gibson, and then whatever he wants to sell 11B for. And then that basically, how would that, so Gibson and 11B would be, I guess, subdivided or into one.
Right, we would require whoever purchased Gibson would have to re-subdivide it with 11B.
Okay.
Forgive me for my naivete, but couldn't you get, if the property owner was amenable to get a shared drive or something like that?
Yeah.
And if it's the same property owner as 9, then he may be willing to give up his access rights because he has access through 9. So I think you have a couple of options. Or I'm speaking out of turn here.
Could be right on the access through 1511 or 9. A property viewer seems to show no building there, but I'm not sure if that's out of date. But in any case, we can't. The bottom line is that we just can't cut off 11B.
No, when you click on 1511, it shows a house. It doesn't show on satellite view, but there's.
Okay.
Also showing a different owner than the one you mentioned earlier.
Right, it's a different owner, but the David Chambers, that's his mailing address, indicating that he lives there.
It looks like the new owner just bought it in June of 2020, 1511. Okay.
I can't.
Don't have anything else.
And then it's possible then that David Chambers maybe didn't change his mailing address if he no longer lives at 1511.
Okay, so I'll reach out to David and I guess get the information from him, and you said there was some, well, I'm just out the box here thinking about, you said easements or anything, where I can kind of take advantage of both properties?
In theory, you could give a servitude of access to 11B through
11B.
Gibson.
Through Gibson, yeah. Okay,
I can't evaluate that at this time, though.
okay. All right, well, I'll try to do what I can do here, and I'll keep in touch, I guess maybe through Jennifer, and if I have any other further, I'll do that. All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I guess we'll move on to our second agenda item, which is a request for a servitude of the ground rights for a wraparound balcony with columns and outward swinging doors over the North Rampart and St. Anne Street right-of-way adjacent to the Second Municipal District, Square 103, Lot 1 by JNR Properties LLC. Municipal address of the property is 800 North Rampart Street. John, do you want to explain the request any further? And you're on mute.
They're digging up the street in front of me, so they're paused now, so that's good. Yes, we respectfully request that, we have the air rights to this, what would be a gallery that once existed in this building, and we've gotten the approval from the Veer Craig Commission. And we do have the gallery and outswinging door. The outswinging door that's on the corner stays within the property, and then there's an outswinging door on Rampart and one on St. Anne. But those are also within the covered gallery. So there is a utility access on the very corner, but it is actually not underneath any part of the gallery. And then there's a telephone equipment access manhole on St. Anne Street. The access to those underneath the gallery is 12 feet 3 inches. Those are the kinds of things that I know that you might want to know, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I don't know if you can pull up the drawings, Paul, but.
Yeah. Give me a sec.
This is Chris with DPW. We don't have objections necessarily, just a couple of comments that I'm sure you're aware of, but in order for the balcony work to actually take place, you will need a street cut permit. And your footings must be designed and stamped by a licensed Louisiana PE. And we're also requesting that there's a note called out on the plans, basically saying that the doors are not to remain open at all times, the outward swinging doors.
Okay, a statement saying the outward swinging doors will be on closers?
Yeah, it just needs to, if you can include it as a note in the plan set, and call it out on the plan set.
Swinging doors will not remain open.
Yeah. It just reduces the ADA path of travel along those streets.
Right, and then the footings stamped by a licensed civil or structural engineer.
Yeah, licensed Louisiana PE. Mm-hmm. And then you can apply for the street cut permit through the One-Stop app on the City of New Orleans website.
Okay, so that's a street cut permit. That's Meaning we're not cutting into the street, we're cutting into the sidewalk. That's what you mean, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's also called a service cut. And it's
Service
basically
cut,
any
there you go. Street
service
cuts,
cut, or
right.
on the website it says street cut. So,
That's
which
a
will
good-
also require sewage and water board approval. I can send you the bullet points if you like on
Okay.
how to successfully apply for the permit.
We've done this plenty, so.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
No problem. And then you can directly apply through your one-stop account now, so you don't have to go through the permit NOLA permit info website or email. So
We used to have to go through property records to get a lease. That's still the case though, right?
Yeah, this is Jen Kretschmann. You'll need to follow up with Ashley on that process. I think she had, oh, actually, I'm sorry. Did HDLC determine this as historic? Or a historic
Yes.
reconstruction within the definition of the ordinance? Tracy, do you know?
This is VCC, not
Sorry.
HDLC.
You're right. All right, we need to, if VCC provides us with a statement that it's been determined to be the reconstruction of a historic balcony, there will not be a lease agreement.
Well, we have the doors. We have
Okay.
to lease the 2 door swings.
Okay. Okay,
Are you
sorry.
still,
Yeah, then you'll need to follow up with Ashley on that.
okay. I mean, I'm not trying to create my client to have to rent the door swing space, but that is what you require. So I don't want to not do it if it's required.
Sorry, I forgot about it.
Right.
Ashley's out today. I forgot that the doors
I don't
were-
think I've seen anything where if you have a historic door and it swings out, that you won't have to do a lease. It's only been the balconies and galleries. Am I right?
That's an interesting question. I think you could, the ordinance uses the word encroachments. It does not specify balconies and galleries.
Okay. Well, that's an
But-
interesting question. I'd like to avoid it, because it's going to be such a small lease. It's just the square footage of the swing of the doors. I'll get VCC to, let me see if I have to look at the elevations and make sure that there were openings in those locations. We may be creating the fire escape one, so,
Mhm.
but we'll proceed with caution.
Yeah, Ashley will work out with you on that if that's the case.
Okay.
Yeah,
She'll just get an email from Brian. Sorry, Tracy, to put you on the spot.
That's okay.
Lumping you guys together.
Hi, this is Joyce from Sewage and Water Board. On Rampart, I see we have a water that's 3.5 feet from the property line. I see it's not shown on the plans. So since this is a balcony with columns,
It's a gallery with columns, and the columns are set back 18 inches from the curb.
so that would put the balcony would be over the water line. So a balcony with columns, right now Sewage and Water Board would have to reject the balcony with columns on the Rampart side. But the St. Anne side, we have no objections to the balcony with columns because of a maintenance reasons is why we're rejecting the columns, the balcony with columns. Because the water line is going to be right underneath the balcony.
Right, but you'll have 12 foot of access to it above.
So
We
yeah.
usually we can work that out so that we're not, impinging on the water lines. You'll have full access to the water lines at any time.
Yes, but I was saying that as far as like that's between the columns, I guess, as far as a maintenance issue.
Well, Joyce, are you saying that the water line is on the side, under the sidewalk? Or in the
Yes,
roadway? Oh, I see.
yes.
So I think the issue is, since you need to build a footing, they're concerned that you're getting close to the water line, basically.
And then for maintenance,
Footing.
being able to
I think she's talking about
get
maintenance.
any equipment. Mhm.
But Joyce, in the past, haven't you done something where you tell them, and I don't know how it's worded, it's something about if you have to go, you're not responsible if you damage the balcony or anything, if you have to go in with equipment to repair the water line?
Okay.
Or something along those lines? I may be misremembering.
We have no objections to a balcony, but I was thinking the balcony with columns. I've also said too, if it was like a house connection and the house connection being close to a balcony, if there were any repair works, then we would say that we won't be responsible for any damages. We have said that in the past.
We'd be happy to accept that. And we have worked with Sewage and Water Board on many occasions to do columned balconies, or what they would call galleries, throughout the French Quarter and in the,
Yeah.
the city.
So this kind of brings up the problem with the historic exemption, because from Joyce's perspective, we're going to have no contract with the property owner on that pertains specific to that. I don't know if we could work it in with the doors somehow, a proviso, that we're not responsible for any damage to the columns. But I think it sounds like, well, Joyce, I mean, is it the policy that we don't want any columns on that side?
Yes, on that side because of a maintenance purpose for the water line. But like I was saying before, if it was like a sewer or house connection or something, we usually say if it wasn't enough clearance and some repair works need to be done, then we would say we have no won't be responsible for any damages. But since this is a line that's going to be running underneath there, is the rejection of the balcony on the rampart side.
Well,
And 12 feet might not be high enough for you to get your equipment in to fix.
So I'm saying we have no objection to the balcony, but I'm saying the balcony with columns usually present the maintenance issue.
well, we would, if you had a maintenance issue, we would sign a proviso saying we would remove the columns and allow you access. And that's what we've done in the past.
That's probably like if we have an emergency.
I don't think I could get the balcony on St. Anne approved without the one on Rampart, because they existed together. We're reconstructing what was there historically, and it had columns. We have old renderings and Sanborn maps that show these columns. And I think in the past we've worked it out with the Sewage and Water Board.
Well, Joyce,
There are columned galleries up and down Rampart Street. We've done them before.
Yeah, a lot of those are been there like years, right?
Well, no, we've put new ones up.
Okay.
It sounds like Mr. Williams is asking for further review with Sewage and Water Board. Do you want to set something up with them to talk about it with legal at Sewage and Water Board.
Well, we can put it on the further review.
Okay, but we're gonna need to get something scheduled because we're gonna be the ones holding the permit in order for
Okay.
you to work that issue out.
Okay.
So, would that be with Mary or?
Yes, you could contact her if you want.
It's Mary.
I don't want to. Mary Arsenault.
No.
Oh, okay.
We'll
Well,
contact with her.
Mary Arsenault is with General Counsel. I'll put everybody together on the same email and explain what the issue is, and whether there's any legal agreement that would satisfy Sewage and Water Board. But LaJoyce, I certainly understand what your concern is, and there is a tension between the infrastructure needs here and and the historic use.
If I can ask a question, has an application been submitted for this?
Yes, we've submitted an application to the One Stop and to the VC. That was our way into the Vieux Carré. They've approved this, and now we're making sure that we've gone to the Planning Advisory Committee because we need the permission to put this over the sidewalk.
Yeah, I didn't see any applications or permits in the system. That's why I was asking. Is this older? The last thing I saw was something approved.
This is quite old. We've been, we were working on this before the COVID, and the owner said, "Look, I'd like to. Now it's getting over. Let's go ahead with this now." So
Is
it's not
that
the-
letters XZ MPDZ? Is that have any meaning for that VCC review?
Well, we've been to the architectural committee and the commission. And now
I
we're
guess
coming.
the most recent email that we had from Mark had that as a reference identification. I didn't know if that was a VCC number or not, but
That's Mark Heck, right, in my office.
Yes.
I'm taking his place. He's getting his second shot. And I said I'd be happy to do this. So maybe we could defer this until he was able to maybe more clearly explain. And then we could have a chance to maybe meet with Mary Arsenault and see what we've done in the past. Because we've built columned galleries over sidewalks with water lines in them before. Just trying to find out what the pathway is to getting that done.
Have you been in touch with anyone from VCC recently?
Yes.
Okay.
I had one other question, maybe on behalf of Parks and Parkways. There's a call out for an existing tree on North Rampart Street. Is that remaining
No,
under the proposed?
Our arborists have both, has said
Okay.
that both of them are toast.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you.
This is just an old corner, and this gallery was where folks used to gather on this gallery to look over Congo Square. So it has a lot of history to it.
Well, speaking to that, I don't know, Chris, but there, obviously you're not going to have a tree there now. So I would assume that the sidewalk needs to be repaired because no tree is going to grow underneath that balcony. So I don't mean to speak for you, Chris, but wouldn't that call for the repair of the sidewalk? For where the tree wells currently are?
Yeah, I need to review that. Probably with Lewis. I'm not exactly sure how we would handle that, but I can find out. Are there, I guess no planters are proposed based on this plan set?
No,
Okay.
but this also backs up to a building that has columns in the gallery there.
Right.
I think we can follow up with Sewage and Water Board as soon as possible. So we've got a lot of further review by DPW, VCC, Sewage and Water Board, and real estate, I guess, to the extent that we're going to be waiting on the outward swinging doors. Does anybody have anything else?
I got that. Thank you.
I'll be sending an email, Mr. Williams, and I'll include Mark as well.
I appreciate it.
John, what is the proposed use at that site?
It's going to be a restaurant. You can, you don't have the, I guess the plans. Well, those are the plans. You can see the tables and the food prep area, and then they have it upstairs too.
I wasn't sure if that was showing what was there already.
There is a wall behind the bar, between the bar and the neighboring property already. And they had started work on the plumbing for this, I guess maybe 4 or 5 years ago. The building's been empty quite a while.
Yeah.
It used to be a music venue.
Donna's.
That's
Yeah,
right.
That's right. I remember that.
I've been there.
Taking me back to the old days.
That's right. So I guess Joyce, I'll if we can hook up and meet with Mary and also meet with Real Estate and Records and circle back with the VCC and maybe get a letter from Brian Block about the history of the gallery. We hopefully will be able to, I guess, return to the Planning Advisory Committee. When we do further review, that means we're coming back?
No, not necessarily, as long as we can kind of herd the cats outside this meeting, unless there's something that I'm not anticipating. I think we'll deal with each of these individuals outside of the meeting via email.
Okay. That sounds great.
We'll want to get it moving as quickly as we can.
Thank you for that.
All right. Any final questions or comments on item 2? All right. In that case, we will take a recess for 2 minutes. Time is currently 2:46. We will reconvene at 2:48.
Real quick. Sorry. Is the applicant still on the phone?
Yes.
On the line. So I got an answer regarding the sidewalk. It will need to be repaired if both of those trees are being removed and planter boxes aren't going back in. So that will be taken care of with a sidewalk permit.
We'll add a note to that effect.
Great.
All right. So I'll
Thank
change
you.
our recess time from 2:47 to 2:49. We'll see you all back in 2 minutes. John, you'll want to put yourself on mute now.
Oh, good idea. Thanks, Paul.
All right, recess is over. Calling the meeting back into order. And next, we have no public comment on either items. Are there any additional questions from members on item 1, the disposition of Gibson Street right-of-way? If there's no other comments, then we will entertain a motion.
I'm gonna let Jennifer handle that one.
That's a good idea.
Thanks, Tracy. I didn't want to step on your toes.
You stand ready to do that seconding, Tracy.
I'll have to.
I'd like to make a motion of no objection, subject to further review by city planning and real estate. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. If we do this, I'll do this by roll call. HDLC,
Aye.
CPC, aye. Real Estate and Records,
Aye.
Public Works,
Aye.
Sewage and Water Board,
What are we saying aye for? I'm sorry.
the Gibson Street right-of-way. Motion of no objection, subject to further review by CPC and Real Estate and Records.
And it's aye?
Yeah.
Oh,
You
okay.
said there's no utilities in Gibson, LaJoyce.
Okay.
And Parkway.
Thank heavens for putting me last. I lost my unmute button. No objection.
All right, it's unanimous. All right, so we will move on to item 2, which is,
We don't take a vote.
we don't take a vote.
But
Thank you.
we will undertake the further review as we've discussed.
And I did talk to Mr. Hack by text, and he said the Bureau approved this in February. So I think we had to go back and renew the permit. So they just need us to start work.
All right. I think the meeting is now adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
Aye.